The first agenda item is the Personnel Committee.
Right. So what we'll do is, the way I understand it is we're just going to have a separate vote of the Personnel Committee to accept the minutes. That's the way I understood it. Okay?
Okay.
So the first item on the agenda is accepting the minutes of the Personnel Committee. So just the Personnel Committee is supposed to vote on this. And we have to do it by a vote, voice vote.
Roll call.
It's not just yay and nays.
I'm sorry, what was the date of that meeting? It was the September 20.
Yes, it was September 28th,
28th.
and the meeting was at
28th.
7:10.
Okay.
Yep. So the Personnel Committee, which comprised of Susan, Chris, and Amy, and myself, so we need a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for our meeting.
We need a second.
Second.
Okay, Amy, second it. All right, all in favor of accepting the Personnel Committee meeting minutes?
Aye.
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 So all four of us vote in the affirmative. So that completes that portion of it. Now those minutes can be, they're a public record.
Okay.
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 So Catherine, since we're on this subject, I actually didn't see it on the agenda, but we need to vote to accept your contract.
It's under new business, but you can do it now if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did miss that. I apologize.
That's
You want to
okay.
handle it now, Kevin? So, out of order, just so we're on the subject?
Yep, that's fine.
That's up to you. I mean, that's fine. I apologize, Catherine. I did not, I
That's
skipped
okay.
right by that.
Yeah, no, we
So,
can do it.
all right. So if we're willing to accept it out of order, then we can just, we can do this as an agenda item. So the committee met on the 28th, right? Yeah, thank you. Met on the 28th. We discussed the topics that Catherine proposed. There were no new items to discuss. So we agreed to accept pretty much what was proposed. So this contract would go retroactive to July 1 of 2020 and would go for 3 years. And if the one I would tell you as a board, the one I would think substantial part of the contract that I think you just should be aware of is that there's a self-renewing clause in the contract. And that self-renewing clause allows, if we don't do anything in the affirmative, the contract is renewed. Does everybody understand that? I mean, you need any explanation of that?
We had that with Sharon's contract.
Correct. It
Yeah.
was the same, clause we had in Sharon's contract when she retired. So, but that, I mean, I don't mean to just, downplay anything else that was in the contract, but essentially that was, kind of a significant change in the contract. All we have to do, if we want to do something, we have to do it by a certain date. And also, Catherine is required to do it by a certain date if she wants to inform us that she doesn't want to continue in her contract. So, if the committee has anything to add to that, but I thought that was really the most significant part of the contract. Committee have anything?
I do not.
Nope.
So this would lock us into Catherine for the next 3 years. So we need to, I think at this point, what we should do is take a vote to approve the contract. And then the issue of this, typically all the trustees sign the contract.
Yes, I saw that on the last one.
So what I would suggest, because of the situation we're in, that what we do is take a vote to authorize the chairman to to sign in our place. And that way our names could be printed on the contract, but the signature that would be applied to the contract would be the chairman by our vote. That way, not everybody has to go in and actually put their signature on the contract. Normally, we would pass it around the table and everybody'd sign it and so forth. So is that agreeable to people?
Is that considered legit?
Yes, I believe it is. That we
Yeah,
can authorize the chairman by vote to sign for us.
Can we
And
do
I
it
would-
electronically if someone wanted to?
I don't have a way of doing it. Apparently Kevin has an ability to do electronic signature. Am I right about that, Kevin?
Well, I can just, I have the ability to sign it and scan it back. I mean, I can just do
Yeah.
that,
Right.
which is fine.
But if that's acceptable, if it's not, I mean, that's fine by me. I don't really care one way or the other.
Okay, with me.
But it's fine by me.
Agree.
So if you take a vote authorizing Kevin to sign on everyone's behalf due to the COVID situation, that will go into the minutes, and I'll
Correct.
attach the minutes to the contract.
That's fair. That seems reasonable.
Tim, I just had, there was just one typo that I came across. It doesn't impact anything, but I didn't know if that was,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, bring it up. I might have missed it.
It's on the first page in the section under term, performance, and appraisal.
Yeah,
Second paragraph, it says between
Upon?
January 1st, the board, it should be the board shall conduct rather than the board hall conduct.
Ah,
Yeah.
you got that, Catherine?
yeah, there was another mistake there and I caught it, but I didn't get that one. The board shall conduct.
I didn't pick it up. Thanks, Laura.
Sure.
Should be upon, okay, it's the letter S. Okay,
It doesn't impact, I mean, but
right, it's a typo.
yeah.
Anything else from the committee?
No,
No.
So it'd be my recommendation that we make a motion to approve the contract, and authorizing the chairman to sign, to apply his signature in place of the full board. Somebody want to make that motion?
Is that one or two motions?
I think that's two motions. I think you have to do a voice vote probably of everyone and then authorize in a second motion for it's like casting a white ballot. First you vote and then you cast the white ballot. So I think first we would all vote and then we would ask the chair to sign on behalf of everyone.
That's fine by me. Yeah, that sounds either way. So why don't we take a voice vote on approving the contract? So let's make a motion. Somebody make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay.
Yep.
All in favor? But this is the whole board, by the
I
way.
would just do a roll call vote, Tim. Just go
Yeah,
by the
do a
screen,
roll
ask
call
everybody.
Yeah.
vote.
Just go on the screen,
Sorry.
ask everyone.
So roll call vote, Chris,
I in favor.
Amy,
yes,
Susan,
yes,
Catherine.
You can't
I'm
vote.
sorry.
I
I'm
don't
going
know.
through. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my screen.
My name is
Laura,
there.
Yes.
you can't vote, Catherine. Jeff? Jeff?
He's
Jeff?
frozen. He's frozen. How about a wave or something, Jeff?
Jeff?
He's frozen right now.
All right. Adam's not with us, right?
Two.
Right,
Cindy?
Yes.
And I vote in the affirmative. Tim?
And me?
How
Yes.
about Jeff? Wait a second. Let's go back to Jeff. No, he's frozen. All right, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay.
oh, we lost him.
I think I'm trying
He's
to
probably
see
gonna
if I
sign
can-
back on.
He's
Yeah,
gonna
We
read.
can't lose him. He's the secretary.
I know.
Oh, meeting adjourns. Here he comes. I'm off video, by the way, because I'm having dinner.
All right, Jeff,
Yeah, can you hear me now?
yeah, can you, we need your vote.
Okay. Yeah, so I vote yes for approval of the contract.
Okay. So now we need to make a motion to authorize Kevin to sign for the board. Somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make that.
Second? We have a second?
Second,
Second.
Okay, so we'll do another roll call vote for authorizing Kevin to sign. Chris,
In favor?
Amy,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Jeff? Jeff's frozen again. Cindy,
yes.
Awful.
Kevin,
Yes. Can you hear me?
and Tim is in the affirmative. I guess we have a majority, so Jeff doesn't really count. All right, so we're fine till he signs. back
Yes.
on. Okay, you're good, Jeff?
Good. Yeah, he's in.
All right. So that completes the contract approval. I would only note, the only thing I would note, I just thought of this, is that there is a period in the contract that I don't have right in front of me, but that we are required to do an evaluation of Catherine. I believe begins January of 2022.
Yeah,
Does that sound right, Catherine?
that's right.
So just make a mental note that we need to do that. And Catherine, I would put it upon you to remind us.
Right. And we're using, what's in this contract is the guidelines that have always been used that Sharon had. And at the last evaluation, it was suggested that maybe we find something new. So we have a year to do that.
All right, I don't remember that, but that's fine.
Yeah, if you want to use that, that's fine. That's what's in the contract. And if you decide you want to change it and use something else, you have a year to figure that out.
Okay, so that was just make a mental note reminder, because we want
Right.
to perform that at the time that's, it's in the contract.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, that's it on renewing the contract. Thanks, Kevin, for taking that out of order.
Thank you.
All right. All
It's now, the meeting's yours, by the way.
right. Thank you. All right, next agenda item is acceptance of the secretary's report. Can I have a motion to accept the secretary's report?
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, discussion.
Nothing.
No comment.
Any discussion? Going once? No? Okay. All those in favor, go around the room. Amy,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Tim,
Yep.
Laura,
Yes.
Jeff,
Uh-oh.
Yes.
right,
Oh, look at that.
Cindy,
Yes.
okay. Motion's accepted. Second acceptance, have a motion to accept the monthly staff reports.
So moved.
Cindy, thank you. Second,
Second.
second to Amy. All right, discussion?
I did have a question, staff reports.
question about, in Jackie's report, it's more out of curiosity, the RFID wand, how that's working. Sounds pretty cool that it could find things that are in the wrong place. Is that working well?
We have not used it to the extent that it is capable yet. Dave and I actually both spent some significant time reading the manual. He actually called the company at one point. But that is what it is capable of. And we know that it can do that. We just haven't had time to actually use it for that purpose. But right now, all of the grab and go bags that the youth room is putting together, they're collecting books, bagging them up, and then we've been using the wand to change those so that other people aren't looking for those books while they're waiting to go out. So it's very useful in that regard. It took some figuring out, and I had to write some lengthy directions. It's not wildly user friendly in terms of converting things in Evergreen, but it will be very helpful in the real world.
That's great.
I have a question. There are several references to the Commit to Your Community program, but I'm not sure I really understand what the program is.
Last month's packet, at the end of that packet,
Okay.
the grant was enclosed in that,
Oh, then I have it printed out.
as
Okay.
well as there was also a sheet from the designer of the logo, and she explains why she designed it the way she designed it, and we included that because that had some bearing on the idea behind the grant.
All
And
right, I'll pull that out and look at that again. Thank you.
There's also on the library's website, so wakefieldlibrary.org/commit. It gives a little bit more of an explanation and links to the brochure and the calendar.
Terrific. Thank you, Jacqueline.
So does that start, is that tomorrow, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay, that's why we're having the meeting tonight, because tomorrow night is that
First night.
the neurologist?
Right.
Right,
He's a neuroscientist.
neuroscientist, that's what it was, yeah. So, yeah, that's gonna be good, I think. We've had some good interest in that. A lot of people, I've been surprised, because people are tired, but there's been some interest in that.
Anybody else?
No.
Catherine, can you remind me again what how much was the gift for Constance Murray, the Constance Murray estate?
What the what?
How much was the gift for the Constance Murray estate?
Oh, that's on, that's under gifts and grants. It now has its own line item.
Oh, it does, okay.
That was $25,000. And my understanding is that it was accepted last night at the town council meeting.
Oh, great, okay.
Is that earmarked for anything?
It was, in her will, it was, there were no restrictions. So it has gone into the gifts and grants as opposed to Fidelity because of the way it was written, the way it was left to us. And we know we have a use for it, we make, but that's something that I think you would all vote on and decide. So I don't have anything next to it now on that sheet, but if you decide there's something specific you want to do with that, it would be encumbered for that.
Okay.
One of the things you had talked about too is working on potential platforms. I wasn't sure what you meant by potential platforms.
Oh,
I saw
yeah.
various things about platforms and other things.
Yeah, all kinds of apps and, oh, Jackie, what have we been working on? We're looking at how to do Wakefield 101 we're working with the town and WCAT on how to do Wakefield 101 virtually. And we've looked at an app for that, which was pretty labor intensive. It took a lot of time. And then we're looking at apps to do curbside and ways to, like scheduling apps. And I don't know how many scheduling apps we looked at. So it's software mostly.
Okay.
It's software things. And there's nothing designed for exactly what we want to do. So we're trying to work it to make it do what we want it to do. And haven't come. I guess we've got one thing that Jeff is in the middle of. And he's out this week now. And I don't remember, what's that called?
Simply Book.
What?
Simply Book.
Oh, Simply Book, right. Okay. So, yeah, we've been working on a lot of programs and software and stuff like that, platforms.
Yeah, is that going to cost us anything in terms of money, or is the town going to pay for that, or does it come out of our budget?
Oh, well, we're always looking for stuff that's free if we can find it. Anything that the library is using, we would be paying for, and I work that into the budget. It's minimal. Those are not expensive. One of the things that we were looking at for Wakefield 101 probably would have been a little more expensive, but I think the town was going to cover that.
Catherine, can you, I know this is under Jeff's report, but in terms of the printing pickup service, is that working comparable to the book pickup where people have a designated time to pick up their printed materials?
Do you know how that's been working, Jackie? Because I think they can pick up like almost immediately.
It depends on when the request is received. Stephanie's coordinating that. So if it's pretty much Monday through Friday during business hours, you could probably pick it up within the hour. And it's scheduled the same way. And then it's just out with the books.
Thank you.
We've only gotten 2 requests so far. So we
I just really nice that you're offering that service. I was glad to see that for folks who don't have, that's great.
I saw also, Catherine, on the purchases for the computers and hardware, purchased 5 staff laptops. And is that part of because of COVID, or is that stuff that we needed? And is that going to be reimbursed by the town as well?
That was our IT capital.
Okay, it was.
Which did get funded this year, I believe. So that goes to the town and they cover those expenses. That's part of our regular rotation.
Oh, it is. Okay. And
Yeah.
are they going to be able to use those laptops when they come back to the office? In other words, is that part of the plan to use it when they come back, or is this only being used while they're out of the office?
Well, the laptops, are you talking about having patrons use them?
Well, this is purchase included 5 staff laptops. So I guess my question was the staff laptops.
Okay, those are ones that the staff uses.
Yeah, and are they using them at home, and will they be using them when they get back to the library when they come?
It's a little bit of both. I don't know, Jackie, how many are out? 2 or 3?
I think just 2 right now.
Just 2 are with people who need them remotely, who are like at home and need them.
Okay.
But the other 3 then are in the building. So they go from person to person, but we keep track of them. Presentations, things like Jeff would use them for his travel program.
Okay.
We used to use them for training, but we don't so much anymore because people have their own and they tend to just have questions, not so much training.
Yeah.
How did BBCon go? I saw some pictures on Facebook of from Friends with Kids. And I didn't realize it was like a physical thing around outside. It looked like a scavenger hunt maybe or something.
Yeah, it was a scavenger hunt. Did you talk to Casey since that happened? I have not.
No, it was.
We've messaged about book clubs, but that's it.
Oh. Yeah, no, I haven't talked. I talked to her tomorrow morning. So I'll get the details of how many people she got. And, it looked to me like she was having fun. I don't think she cares how many people she gets. I think she just has fun with it.
Yeah, I saw some very
Every-
positive posts on
Everything they put out got taken.
for BBCon.
So, yeah, so the stuff that they put out, I think most of that was taken.
Yeah, I'm seeing good comments about their grab and go. What are they? Craft bags. I've seen a few friends post about those.
Yeah, yeah. There was one with a little Yoda that was very popular.
Yeah. I think it's really interesting what they're doing because, I mean, obviously you guys can do the adult programs and adults can get on Zoom, but to be able to do COVID programs for kids, you know, that aren't all Zoom calls is impressive. And I've seen great feedback from it.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. And everybody is tired of Zoom. So, you know, yeah, they're doing it during school time. So, you know, it's it seems to me the things that they do on Zoom or any kind of video thing, they're trying to make it less Zoom-like. You know, Holly's doing lessons for ukulele and stuff like that. And it's not so much, the focus isn't on the video aspect of it. I think she tries to make it a little more personal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because people are getting tired of Zoom.
All right, anybody else? Further questions? All right, I'll go around the gallery here. All those in favor of accepting the monthly staff reports? Amy? Yes, Amy?
Aye.
Hi.
Yes, Amy, yes. Susan?
Yes.
Tim? You're on mute, but we'll say it as you say.
Yes, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Laura?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Jeff? All right, you're in the chat. Now we'll read it. I'm in favor of the motion to accept the staff reports from Jeff. Okay, public participation, none. Correspondence, there wasn't any. Committee reports, budget. We'll get to the FY22 budget in the new business. Anything to discuss about the current budget? That's not in the reports. Anyone has a question on? No? Okay, building and grounds. Tim, any update on that?
Yes, so I, I did some more investigation on the sign and, excuse me. So, I've reached out to Batten Sign and they regurgitated some information that I had asked for them for before. So we're still looking at about, if nobody remembers, but it was around a $13,000 item. And they say it is feasible. What I'm trying to arrange now is to have a portable display, which would give us an idea of what it really physically would look like. I don't know if I can coordinate that with everybody, but what my plan would be is to get this display out there because they have these kind of, you know, marketing type display so people can actually physically see what, you know, rather than looking at a photograph. So what I was planning to do is try to coordinate with the library staff and also take a video of it when we do it at best we can so we could show people. Because I really think if you look at the various quality of them, they vary quite a bit on depending on I guess the resolution of the screen. So it really depends on how many, I think, pixels they use on the screen, just like a TV. So I'm trying to arrange that so we can actually see it and see what it looks like. But in terms of cost, and I've reached out to another company called Sign by Design. They're a company that's based down, I believe, in Stoughton or Canton, and they're on the state bid list. So they've done a lot of public entity signs. And so they're gonna also give us a proposal on it. But I do think that's probably the ballpark number we're looking at, is probably around $13,000. So I want to pursue it more so we can physically and look at it, but unless that number is really a problem, I'd like to continue, just keep pursuing this. If it's a problem, then we could drop it. You know, I don't think that should be a problem, the number, that value, but if anybody's got comment on that, that's fine by me. I'd like to hear it.
From what I looked at and other people I talked to, which was a few months ago, that price is low. It's in the,
Yep.
it's in the lower area. People have had to spend a lot more. I think we have an advantage that we already have the masonry, so that would only have to be maybe worked on, but it wouldn't have to be totally done. The trustees gift fund summary that's in the packet, there are several items that I did in red, and those are the available funds that are unrestricted. So the total amount of unrestricted that is in First Fidelity and held by the town is about $30,000. But if you were going to do this, I would recommend using various gifts, because the various gifts are, these investments probably need to continue to earn, especially the Stout, which you had set aside for technology. Stout is, the current principal is less than what the opening principal was. So if that could stay and build up a little bit, that could be good. So I think you have some options. You could use any of these. As I said, they're in red, but I think we also have some various gifts that are that the town's holding for us in our regular operating budget accounts that would be available.
Was that the plan to begin with, to take it take it out of this as opposed to our operating or capital? Not capital.
Well, I think we had floated the idea that we might make it a capital project. I think we did that last year when we started talking about this, but I think that's really not an option right now.
Yeah.
Based on what I've heard. So,
yeah, they're not funding.
I'm sorry.
Capital, I understand, right? Is that the issue?
So, yeah, at one time we were talking about capital.
Yeah.
And, but I don't think that's really a true option. But we also had thrown out the fact that if we wanted to spend our money in capital in other areas at the time, we could still revert to some of our gift funds.
Mhm.
So it sounds to me like we have enough money to pursue this, and I think we should continue to pursue it. That's my opinion, because I think it's worthwhile, and even if 13,000 might be low at this point, we've probably got enough flexibility to get this thing done if we want to do it. But I really do think, based on my research and what I've seen, because of the quality of the signs, the visual quality, we really need some. We don't necessarily need consensus, but I think people should see it first. That's just my opinion, because our sign would be very close to people physically than other typical signs would be. They're much more usually at more of a distance. So the further you are away, the better resolution you have with the cheaper sign. The closer you are to the sign, the resolution needs to be better to make it look, at a decent quality. And ours would be very close because it's close to the sidewalk. It's probably only about 20 feet from the sidewalk, maybe 22 feet. And then from the street, somebody driving by, you're talking about maybe 45 feet. So we need to look at a sign that has some decent resolution, as opposed to looking at something from 100 feet away or more. Okay, so that's, you can get away with what I've been finding out is you could probably get away with a less expensive technology if you were further away from it, because it would look better. So that's kind of, so I do think we might be looking at a little more money, but I think we still physically want to see it in place, what it would look like at that distance.
Yeah, the other thing for consideration is too, is I don't know how much sunlight, direct sunlight that gets to. So, you know, when you're putting this thing in there, it'd be interesting to see, like, you know, resolution wise at the height of a day when the sun's hitting that directly, whether
Yeah.
you see it from the sidewalk or not, and whether or not we may have to construct something that shields it or does a better job of, you know, illuminating it so that people actually can see it when they walk by. If it's going to be lit during the daytime.
Yeah, it's a good point. We do have a lot of shade in that area, but of course that shade's only really available when foliage is on the trees. So year round, it could be different. You're right. But that is a consideration of how much sunlight, because you're right, sunlight can wash out the light, the sign, the sun, it can wash out the light of the sign. So we do have to consider that.
Yeah, I'd be curious, the newer libraries that have been constructed, Catherine or Jackie, do you know, do they have electronic signs out in front of their buildings? Like the more recent ones in the last, 3 to 5 years? I'm just curious to know. I
haven't seen them outside. They have them inside,
inside, okay.
but I haven't seen them outside. I'm trying to think of,
Okay.
I really haven't.
It might be nice to know if you know of any of the local libraries in the last maybe 3 years or so that have had electronic signs put out, to see what their experience has been.
Actually,
different.
Middleton.
Catherine,
Middleton
that's
has-
actually a very good point from Kevin. I'm wondering if at the state level, they probably have a handle on that because they're involved in funding. The funding part of it would probably include some of that stuff. They may know right off the top of their head which libraries they've funded recently that have done that.
Middleton's had one for like 10 years outside.
Yeah, I contacted them because theirs is old and the technology is different, and they spent a small fortune on it. And there's another place, maybe Canton or someplace near that, and they share a building. It's like next to the police department or something. So they have a shared sign. But in some instances, they look not like businesses, but almost like movie theaters, or it changes the look. You can tell it's an electronic sign, and it changes the look of what's there. And I think what Tim is describing is newer, and it wouldn't really change the look of what's existing. It would just have something inside it that rather than be a board that you're sticking letters into, you'd be able to type them in. So
that's just to remind everybody, we talked about this, and that there would be a preference to have what's considered more static signage than what am I trying to say? Stuff that's changing all the time. I'm trying.
It's not scrolling.
The word escapes me. But
Dynamic.
dynamic. Thank you, Kevin. And that we would have much more static, that messages would stay there for longer periods of time without changing. And that as opposed to you seeing it, sometimes changing like every 10 to 15 seconds, you wouldn't see that. We were talking about using it more like a bulletin board,
right.
And not so much as a advertisement or whatever you want to call it, but that it would just announce things. But it also gives us the ability, would give you the ability to do static sign, but it would do library stuff, but also could do townwide stuff. Don't forget to vote on November 3rd or whatever thing is, or don't
Wear
forget
your
town,
mask.
town meeting, or yeah, and you could have just default messages that would be like that, just wear your mask, or, whatever the, whatever the message might be, but wouldn't be constantly changing. So, yeah, Catherine's absolutely right. The, wouldn't be that type of sign where they'd be changing all the time, but it would give us the ability to do it, a little more statically. But it still requires, what I'm finding out is, and the technology has changed a lot in the last 5 years. The type of what they've been able to provide and how they function and how you interface with them has changed a lot. It's obviously getting better, and it's getting, you're getting more quality for probably about the same price. So, all right.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So we have the okay, this is going to be okay with the town?
Well, I pursued that. I have not pursued it recently, but I did pursue it originally. And my understanding is there was nothing that prohibited this.
Okay.
That was my understanding, but obviously we move forward would make sure that we meet all the sign bylaws and the like. But that was my understanding.
Okay. Because they did
Well,
have the ones at the lake and
Yep.
the electronic one at the lake, and Jen, I forget her last name, from Town Hall, she, loads that. McDonald.
Yeah. That, my understanding was, and the only other thing that did come up in that regard, Susan, was that the town was looking at some other changes, but that they were only in the planning stages. And I spoke with Jim McBain on the Board of Appeals that was working on some potential changes, and he wanted me to bring it up to him again if we got more serious. But that was the last conversation I had about it.
Is that under the sign bylaw? Is that what you
It'd
mean?
be under well, they were thinking about, there was some thought about changing some of the bylaws that would affect the downtown area. There'd be specific, zones, and that nothing has taken place yet. Nothing's changed that I know of, but that there was discussion about it.
Yeah.
And I know Jim, and I told him I'd call him, let him know what we were thinking about when we started moving forward.
Yep. Okay.
So this is just a black and white sign, right? No color.
Could be color, could be either or.
If you go for color, you're going to have a lot of pushback.
But I don't, to be honest with you, Cindy, I don't think you can get it. It's not like buying a black and white TV and a color TV now. You buy the technology and you decide how you're going to use it.
Okay,
So-
having had a conversation with Jim McBain the past 2 weeks, you try to do color on the library lawn, you're going to have a lot of flack.
But when we talked about this before, we didn't think we wanted color on the library lawn, but we did think that we wanted the option because there may be special times when the town would like the color. But the library itself, being kind of 1922, doesn't really suit itself to something that's not black and white.
Right.
But I think if, like Tim says, you're gonna get the option one way or the other, whether you just use black and white or not, you're probably gonna get that option to have color.
So you want the potential.
So yeah, the potential is probably good to
You want
have.
the best technology we can afford. And
Right.
Well, plus,
They include the ability to do multiple things at multiple times.
Right,
I don't think you really have a choice. It's not like you can decide that I just want black and white. That's
And
what
that's
you
back to
decide.
kind of the technology point. We may well be technology driven as to what the availability is for what you're gonna
Correct.
get.
right.
Exactly. So there are a few obstacles. I'm not gonna say there isn't, but if we're willing to move forward, I'll keep pushing it.
Yeah, I think definitely should move forward. And as we get closer to a final like exemplar of what we want to look at, we should run it by the appropriate people to make sure that there's no opposition and no one's going to be,
Yeah,
by the time we finalize a contract to go ahead and build, then we will know all the stakeholders who have an interest in it have signed off on it, at least preliminarily, and then we can just go forward and execute the contract and then put it in. But yeah, definitely move forward. I think I went by the other day and I saw the sign out there and it looked in sad shape.
I agree.
And it's been fixed too.
Yeah, I'd love to see a sample in person before we did a vote, so we could sort of see how does
Yeah.
it, you know, how does it affect the overall look and design and style, and also that just the sunlight factor, and if, especially if there's a glass case, if it's inside a glass case, you know, you bought the best screen with no glare, but then you put a piece of glass on top.
Well, it would, no, this, anything we would put up would be its own weather resistant material. You wouldn't put glass in front of it.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't be layered. Because these things are designed to be outside. So you'd really eliminate the glass.
Okay.
And you just, the sign would be unto it, you know, be its own entity. So you just use it that way. But I still think you're absolutely right, Amy. We want some people to physically see a display to see what it looks like.
Right.
Because, you know, it really is one of those occasions where once you see it differently. That's what, you know, when I saw it.
If there's no glass or case around it, is there an issue about, I don't know, theft, vandalism? If we're putting a $13,000 piece of technology right there, 2 feet off the ground, 10 feet from the sidewalk.
It's as vulnerable as the sign is right now. I agree with you that it's not, you know, the sign that's there now is cheap, but I mean, it's a lot less expensive, but unless we decided to mount it out of reach, it's subject to vandalism or anybody walking right up to it, but it's not subject to damage by the weather because it's designed to be outside.
Right.
But,
Security
you
cameras
know,
go that far out?
I'm
What?
sorry?
Do our security cameras reach that far out? Our security cameras?
I don't know, Catherine, can you see the sign now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's some deterrent, I guess, if they could, I don't know.
And it would fall under our insurance if it was damaged?
I have no idea. I mean, I would doubt it only because we carry a fairly high deductible
Yeah.
in our insurance. So I suppose that's a good, you know, Amy, that's a very good question. That might be another thing to pursue is how the sign is covered. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking if I got a brand new iPhone, I wouldn't leave it sitting out on the library steps. Kind of.
But someone may well have to crowbar and pry it off. I'm sure it's going to be attached pretty well.
But if it's a $13,000 piece of technology, somebody's going to want it.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
really, I think it's more likely that kids would sit on top of that and kick it.
Yeah.
That's what they do now. They sit there and kick. So if their legs are long enough.
Yep.
Yeah, these are all good considerations. We got to think about those. So I mean, obviously it's subject to vandalism. If somebody wants to take a baseball bat to it, it's going to break. So that's, you know, I would like to think that wouldn't happen, but
Yeah.
I suppose it could. But I made a note. I will check about what levels of insurance would cover something like that. My experience tells me that typically our deductibles are so high that something like that would not, you know, we wouldn't be really covered. Would be self-insured at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, but that's my guess. I don't know that for a fact.
Okay, so I guess the bottom line is you'll continue to,
All right, I'll pursue it. I'll try to bring something more back to you by the next meeting.
all right, sounds good. Thanks, Tim, very much for your efforts on that.
Yep.
Next item is any further questions for Tim or anything else on building and grounds? Okay, Friends,
That's me also.
geez, busy night for you.
However, I had some technology problems when I tried to log on to that meeting, so I missed quite a bit of it. So Cindy might be better filling in the blanks than I might be, but what I can tell you is they met on the 7th, and there was a lot of discussion about honey sales and the book drop and the book sale. Can't tell you much more than that. I had a lot of technology issues when I was on that meeting.
There was
I don't
something-
know why, but I did. Cindy, do you have any additions to that?
You're on mute, Cindy.
Cindy, you're muted.
I have the agenda in front of me.
Thanks.
I'm at the meetings monthly because I'm on the book sale committee. And so I've told the Friends exec board that I am there just for book sale, that I am not there sitting in my seat as a trustee. But I do take notes whenever I go to any kind of meeting. They're working on their publicity. They really, I think, have much stronger publicity committee pulled together this year than they have in past. They have some newer people doing that, and they've really broken it apart. And they have their vice president who is really taking charge of that. So they spend some time talking about their publicity, their Twitter, their Facebook, their website, their Instagram. They have just published their newsletter, or a couple weeks now, their new newsletters on their website. And if you're a member of the Friends, you've got an email letting you know that that's available. And that's pretty, after the secretaries and there wasn't a treasurer's report. You didn't miss that because the treasurer wasn't there. The membership report was put in either Catherine's or Jackie's reports, the fact that membership is low because their mailing between the printer and the GLD, it did not get included. And the GLD didn't, even though it was on their calendar, they didn't realize that they were missing it. So they didn't contact the Friends to say, hey, we don't have your mailing. So usually the GLD mailing and the book sale bring people to renewing their membership. And since neither happened, their membership has not had the increase earlier this summer as it usually has, but the GLD mailing is going out, it should be in this 5-week period right now. And then it was right after Jackie gave the library staff reports and requests, of which there were no requests, that you showed up, Tim, and did the trustees report. And then they talked some more about the GLD flyer, the honey sale, which ended on Monday, yesterday. And I know they've sold at least 100 bottles. The book drive also was in some of our minutes. The book drive book drop got canceled at the very last minute because of the announcement of the COVID spike in town. So that spike came out, I think, in the paper, the Daily Item, on a Thursday afternoon. And then they had to hustle and say, we don't know where that is in town. Is that in the schools? We have a lot of school volunteers. Is that in the general community? And the word didn't really get out about being in Brightview until a couple days later. So as an update, the Friends are now putting together, using some software, Sign Up Genius, that will allow people to sign up for an appointment time to drop off books. And those appointment times will be on Saturdays. They haven't released that yet because the book sale committee first looked at it, and now the executive board and the directors are looking at it and making their comments. But probably within the next week, 10 days, they'll be making announcements to the Friends and then the general public so that people can sign up for appointments. So that will be in lieu of doing a big book drive. It'd be a good way for managing it. They're also looking at logos and changing the website, but they're behind the library because the library started on that earlier than the Friends have. And that is all, that's the highlights. That's the highlights.
Okay,
Cindy, thanks for bailing me out.
You're welcome.
Can I ask a question with the book drop? Is it safe to say that the rescheduled and the Sign Up Genius and everything is going to be soon? A lot of people were asking me that the morning that it got canceled, you know, if it was
Yes.
going to be, so it'll be within 2020, you think?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It'll be within the next 2 weeks
Oh, great. Okay.
that the appointment slots will be available. So as people raise those questions on Facebook, generally one of us is trying to respond to that. We're getting phone calls into, we have a new email address just for the book sale, and we're getting queries going into there, and we're responding to those the same day and letting people know. And if people do send a request to the Friends directly asking about it, we ask them if they want to be put on notification for when the sign up is available, and they will be notified among the first.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Because I have a lot of books waiting.
I'll let you know right away.
Thank you.
all right. So the next Friends meeting is November 5th. Amy, you're up on deck on that one. Okay, thank you very
Oh,
much.
and we're clearing out the books that have been building up in the library. Dave Mason, and I don't know whether the DPW is helping out. I did contact them. They were going to talk to Dave directly if that was going to be available, if they're going to be able to help do that. And they'll be bringing books, or Dave at least, be bringing books over to the Herd School where the Friends are storing the books tomorrow morning.
Great. All right. Thank you very much, Cindy. Gift funds? Anything else on gift funds?
That's me.
Yeah.
I saw that the new gift fund on the gift funds list, Catherine explained about it and told about the town council's approval. I had no other questions on that or no other news.
Okay. Legislative advocacy?
As you all know, elections are next Tuesday, and it probably our representatives are probably not going to be changing. Jason Lewis doesn't have any competition. Kate Liber-Garabedian doesn't have any competition. Those are our state senators. Moulton's probably going to take it over John Paul Moran as a congressman. Markey, pretty much a shoo-in. The news on the state level is that on October 15th, Governor Baker released a revised budget for the state. Previously, the state had only had a budget that was approved up through October 31st. They only approved a temporary budget. So he's released a revised budget. He's expected to release another revised budget before October 31st deadline, and the state legislature is supposed to be approving that before the end of December. Right now, one of the budget lines looks like it's affected according to the MBLC, but there's really no action to be taken in contacting our representatives until we see Baker's second revision. So as soon as that comes out, I'll make sure that'll be announced through the MBLC. I'll make sure everyone knows about it.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, great, thank you. Personnel, anything more on personnel other than the contract that we just did? No, I don't think so. Okay. New business, we've done the director's employment contract, phased service plan updates.
I don't think there are too many updates. I think the only new thing that you might want to know about that we're working on now is having a reference librarian help out at the senior center. The senior center has computers, and they have been open by appointment. It's a smaller space, and they have there are some people in town who have identified some people who have contacted them and said, you know, I need help doing like government type things, and these people haven't had access to a computer. So we haven't had those phone calls at the library. We haven't heard anything about that, but the social workers at the police department have heard it. So I spoke with Judy Luciano today, and she said with the help of a reference librarian, they think that that's something that they can accommodate. So we're thinking one morning a week, we'll have a reference librarian who will help. And they'll set up all the protocols. You have to be 6 feet apart, masks and all of that. And I think Judy's very careful because her population is a high-risk population. So that will be an option, and we'll see how that goes. As I said, we haven't seen that kind of demand, so I'll be interested to see, you know, how many people actually need that and how it works out. And I can let you know about that at the next meeting. And everything else is going the same as it has been. We think about new things all the time and then step back and just keep doing what we're doing. And I'd say that's it.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. FY22 budget.
So I put together the budget draft. It's in your packet. The charge was to level fund with the exception of personal services that are contractual. So that's exactly what I did. I don't think it's going to, it's hard to tell because everything is so strange this year, but I didn't see anything that looked like it would be a problem. What I would point out is that on the cover page, it shows the requested amount and the changes. And the changes in personal services is a $60,000 change. That includes putting Sunday back. So that includes Sunday. It includes the rates that we know everyone in administration will have, but the librarians union, their contract will have expired by then. So the numbers that are there are the last numbers I have. So there is a chance that it would be like up to 3% higher. I just don't have those numbers yet. And from what I've heard from Steve and Kevin, that was something that I didn't have to be concerned about. Mostly I had to be concerned about level funding everything else. So the one item that there is an increase in contractual services, that's in Noble. And the specific items in Noble that increased are materials. And we're going to need that because we have to hit that 13% materials number, and that will help us do that. So I don't know if you had a chance to look through it. It's basically the same budget as last year, just the personal services changed. We've had some turnover, so people changed a little bit, but there's no extra hours. Circulation services, people changed their hours a little bit, but there's no additional hours added. And I've separated Sunday. It's on the last page, so you can, and I subtotaled it. So Sunday is sort of its own item. We can see how much that is. So I don't know if you had any other questions.
Sundays, and I saw that Sunday service, and I actually had that down as one of my questions. So some of our Monday through Saturday staff work Sunday, and then we have other people who work just weekends. I understand that. So so the people who are our regular full-time staff or work Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, and who also pick up a Sunday shift, is their income showing up under their name, therefore less because the no? Okay.
No, it's under, Sunday service is budgeted as though every person who works it is an employed person at the highest step.
Okay. Okay.
And we really have to do that because if we didn't have volunteers and we had to ask people to work on Sunday, they would all be people who are at step 7. So you kind of have to budget for that way.
All right. two more personnel questions. One, Jeff Clapes is down with sick buyback. Is he looking at retiring?
No, sick buyback means that you have worked for the town for so long and never taken a sick day, and you have so much sick time
You're never going
that
to take it.
you're eligible to buy it back if you want to.
Oh,
There are probably only 2 people at the library who are eligible, and no one's ever taken it.
okay.
So
So is
so-
it,
so I budget for 1.
is that they're not buying it back? Are we buying it? Is the town
The
buying?
town
off
is,
them?
the
They're paying-
town is paying them for not taking it because I guess the idea is that they would be quote unquote losing it.
Mhm.
Sick time's kind of like insurance, so you don't really lose it. But if you have so much of it and you've been lucky enough to be healthy and you've never had to take any of that time and you just have accrued so much. So if Jeff retires, he would get a certain percentage of that
Mhm.
A third.
as a cash out, but he wouldn't get all of it. So
Right.
the idea is if you've been here, and I don't know, Jackie, how many years it is, but it's over, is it 20 years maybe?
It's 95.
I don't know how many years. I don't know that it's a number of years that you have to have been here. It's just an amount of sick time that you had to have accrued.
Okay.
And it's a lot. I think you couldn't do it if you hadn't been here for like 20 years.
I
But he
think it-
can't accrue any more sick time. He's used, he has 100, I think it's 120 days. And so every year he doesn't get any more. Like he just hangs out.
I
He doesn't
recall
earn any
seeing
in
it before in our
January.
budget. So that's what,
It's
Okay.
new. That's new in their last
new.
contract.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so that's only been around for 3 years.
All right. And my last question for personnel is Steve McDonald has an R after his name in that column. Is he retiring? Because there's no date after the R. Just has an R.
No, no. There's a possibility, but no, that's an error.
Okay,
That shouldn't be there.
all right. Thank you.
So it's so if you took out the Sunday hours, how much is it out of the personnel services budget? There's $60,000 there now, and I'm just trying to figure out.
What is it?
So right now, we have $60,000 increase in personnel services for
Yes.
FY22, is that right?
Yes.
And
And
if we took, that includes Sunday hours too, right?
42,000 of it is Sunday.
42, okay, that's the number I was looking for, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and then the remaining of that, we took out 42, there'd be 20-something thousand dollars left. Now, of that 20, is that all contractual service? I mean,
It's all contractual.
contractual that we need to pay
Yeah,
for.
that's all. So it's people who have had step raises. That's all contractual. But
Okay.
as I said, if they get a new contract and there's another 1.5%, say, which is what the contracts have been doing, that would go into this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any questions? Now, what's the next step, Catherine? Have to present this or no? You just
Well, the next step is that I send it to Kevin.
Okay,
Kevin Gill in accounting, and if this changes every year, so I think this is what it is. And then if he has any questions, he'll get back to me. But I'll be able to tell him that I showed it to you. It's our first draft. There's a good possibility that it will end up being our final draft.
okay,
So I think, things may change between now and the end of the year or now in February, but for now, this is pretty much it.
and there's nothing in that budget that we anticipate getting, that we paid out, that we plan on getting reimbursed for from either the state level or the federal level.
No, that would be, I don't know if that will, that's for this year. I've been paying things this year that I
Okay.
might get back. And I have submitted forms for that. So I don't know if that's going to come back to me directly or to the town
Mhm.
or how exactly that will work. It's not a scary amount of money, but it is significant. It's costing us something, but we are saving. So on other things that we're not spending on. So we're
Yeah.
saving on utilities a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think we're okay.
Okay. Anybody have any other questions for the draft FY22 budget? No. Okay. action plan.
So the action plan we have to have an action plan every year in order to qualify for federal grants. And included in the packet, I gave you an FY21 action plan status that just shows you where we are in the plan that we had last year. And I did an interview with Annie, who's our new children's librarian. She's in grad school now, and she wanted to know how things had changed with the pandemic. And our plan is so flexible that it hasn't really changed. There's really only one thing that we haven't been able to do because we're not in the building. But everything else we're pretty much working on. So the status is there. And I noticed when it printed out, it didn't print everything out. It kind of, stuff got cut off. And I think it's because I'm working on different machines all the time. But there's not a lot of news in that one, other than that we are progressing and we're getting plenty of things done. And we're on track where we thought we would be, which is good news considering there's a pandemic. So Jackie and I got together and I asked the staff, they had no input. Everybody is just a little stunned. So I said, in FY22, what do you think you want to do? Do you have things you need to do? Or, where should we go? Crickets. Nobody had anything. So Jackie and I tried to put something together, and then we thought about it. We let it gel. And as it turned out, everything falls into, so that the final pages of what you have is the action plan, and that's what would go to the MBLC. And it pretty much falls into 3 categories of things. And one of them is organizing, to just organize how we operate, because now's a good time to do that. See if we can get our ducks in a row. And then the other things that I wanted to highlight were the librarian's expertise. So we put things in where the librarians would be using the skills that they have to program, which they sometimes do now as well, but I think I'd like to up that a little bit. The youth room, they're highly skilled in literacy and reader's advisory for children and stuff like that. So I'd like to see them get that out there and a little bit more than they have been able to. And I don't know. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, if there's any questions. It's what we'll try to do. Who knows what 22 is going to be like. This will start next July and go for a year.
What is the actual 100th anniversary of the building?
That was my question too.
Is that the following year, Jackie? Is that 20? Oh, we can pick. We can do it. She laid the cornerstone in April of 22.
No, it was April of 23 that it was dedicated. I want to say it was March of 22 that they laid the cornerstone. It's considered the 1922 building, like that's how it's described. But we could pick an anniversary.
Yeah, if we couldn't get our act together by 22, we could stretch it to 23.
Let's hope by 2022 we are in a much better position.
So the fact that we realized it was going to be that 100th anniversary of the building, though, that, so many things can go. We can do blossoms with that.
There's our blossoms theme right there.
That might be the next blossoms. 2022.
I know.
It seems like a great opportunity to kind of leverage everything to kind of really, some things that we want to have been doing, that might be a good time to kind of centralize it and a good focal point to be the 100th anniversary of the building.
I think it'll be a great COVID comeback.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great to
kind of big celebratory.
Yeah.
Sign people
with
up.
a new sign out front.
Yeah.
And new gates. The gates are, no one's been in the building. We have new gates now and they're clear.
Early?
They're not those wooden gates anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we look at things like these gift funds that we're sort of not sure what to do with, that maybe we want to keep the anniversary year in mind for some big flashy projects or, you know, celebrations and special services and,
Yeah.
Right,
you know.
right. So that's part of the plan to pay attention to that, to not miss it.
Okay.
Well, if they cancel this year, is it farther away?
Can you do that? Can you just say,
Skip a year,
we're gonna skip this year?
like a leap year.
Mm.
Okay, do you need a vote on this, Catherine?
We need a
The-
vote to accept this, yes.
Okay. So can I have a motion to accept the action plan for FY22?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion on the action plan? No further discussion. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Amy, all those in favor? Amy,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Jeffrey. Yes. Tim. You gotta unmute, Tim. I see you said yes, but we're recording.
Yes,
There you go. Okay.
sorry.
That's okay. And I vote yes too. Okay, so that motion passes. That's the last item on the agenda. Are there any other items that were not anticipated to be on the agenda that need to be discussed?
This I probably just should mention. I probably should have mentioned it under something else, but Dave mentioned this to me today. The elevator was inspected and they are being very more careful than ever before because there was an accident recently.
A death, actually.
So yeah, and Dave explained to me how that happened.
Yeah.
So our elevator did not pass inspection. It has two things that need to be fixed. We don't think they're gonna blow the budget, but you never know, it's an elevator. So we have that coming up, but they are gonna fix them and then they'll be back to re-inspect it. And hopefully we should pass.
Catherine, is that the public elevator or the staff
It's the
elevator?
public elevator.
Okay.
Yes, the public one.
Was it this is the division I oversaw, so this was under my jurisdiction at one point, so I'm very familiar with elevators. So was it a 60-day reinspection, do you know, Catherine, or was it a 90?
I'm not sure because I think I think Dave said he had to get in touch with people again to say whether or not when the repair would be. So
Okay.
maybe if he can get the repair soon, they can do it in 60. I'm not sure. I think he's gonna find out tomorrow.
Okay.
But on the second floor, it doesn't know you're there, so it will close on you.
Mhm.
Which is, I mean, that's a nightmare. And
Yeah.
probably a relatively easy fix, because that's just a sensor.
Okay,
So that's that.
well, thank God no one's in there using it.
I know,
Yeah.
no.
All right. Anybody else? No? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second, Chris. All those in favor, I'll go around the room. Amy,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Susan,
Yes.
Cindy,
Yes.
Laura,
Yes.
Jeffrey. Jeffrey says yes. Tim?
Yep.
Yes. Okay, the meeting is adjourned at 8:28. Thanks, everyone, very much for joining, and we will
you.
see you next month.
Thank you.
Good,
Thanks
thank
very
you.
much.
All right, see ya. Bye, y'all.
Good night.
Okay, good night.